Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at some of the ground changes and also the naval changes when it comes to the planned BR changes. There aren't a ton of naval ones when it comes down to it. The large naval patch obviously happened last year with the introduction of higher BRs. And when it comes to the ground stuff, there's a lot of vehicles moving around, and some of them I feel like could have been guessed after having a look at the economy changes and the ranks that certain things have moved at. But it is nice to see that there's a lot moving around. Some I disagree with, some obviously I feel like deserve a conversation, so let's get into it and see what they're about. So the first set of changes are a lot of high-tier stuff, mainly a lot of light vehicles actually being moved around. Starting with the HSTVL. The HSTVL is going from 10.3 to 10.7, and there is no surprise to me. The HSTVL is incredibly good with its combination of scouting, the auto-loading system that it has, the general fact that it gets default APF SDS, even though it doesn't do as much post-pen damage, it's still an incredibly good thing to have it as default, and it's also great mobility. The only issue the HSTVL has is that it's really loud, and that's really about it. The other thing about it is because of the way that overpressure works now, because a lot of people use APF SDS at high tier, you can survive in the HSTVL by just kind of sitting there, because it has two people in its hull and one person in its turret, and because of commander controls, or I believe the gunners even might be in the hull, but it doesn't matter what it is. The fact is the HSTVL itself can survive by just people seeing its turret, and that's it. So it's really survivable and it's really good. So it's the fact that it keeps going up in BR really doesn't surprise me at all. The automatic is going from 10.3 to 10.7. It's still the best gun AA in game. It's a fantastic vehicle. It works incredibly well. I've been actually using it recently to get some of my specials done and having a little bit of fun with it. So once again, no surprise here that it's going up in BR. It's just a really, really good vehicle. And it has that multi-role capability as well, which is really good. The only thing I would say is a slight issue with it is its size, but that can be played around with. It's really good at its job, so to see it go up and up and up is no surprise. The IPM1 is going from 10.3 to 10.7, and it's switching places with the M1A1, which we knew about before. I thought it was a bad idea to add or to increase the BR of the IPM1 and also add the Mega Round, because it was going to be better than the M1A1. It was as simple as that. And now with the changes that we've seen, it now shows that it is. So the IPM1 now is on an island by itself, and it's now going to have the same issues that the M1A1 had when it was at the BR that it was at, and now you have, I suppose, a more gradual lineup of as you go up the BRs, 10.0, 10.3, 10.7, 11.0, or 11.3. But the problem is, it now means that you don't have a solid lineup at a specific BR. They're basically doing what they did with the challenges, where they split them up from 9.7 to 10.0, and that kind of sucks for the vehicles. But yeah, the IPM1 is a fantastic vehicle with the round that it has, the reload that it has. It's just really, really good. There's no other way to put it. So it just sucks that the general lineups that you see at top tier for America are disappearing, and it's basically because of certain decisions made with certain ammunition choices. The M247 is also going up in BR from 8.7 to 9.0. Sergeant York is incredibly fun to play. Its radar is super good. Its HEVT is impressively good as well. This thing just continuously going up in BR is no surprise to me at all. It will still be combat effective. One of the things as well is because of nerfs to stuff such as Nords, certain vehicles are going to become way more efficient when it comes to it. And that's going to be vehicles which used to face a lot of stuff like G91s or Etendards or similar vehicles, where the Nords are not as powerful, so the AAs are going to take over again. That's why you're seeing stuff like the M247 increase in BR, the LVKV 9040C go up in BR, even stuff such as even maybe the Type 87 and a lot of the other light vehicles, because they're not as in danger to face stuff like AGMs apart from bullpups. So their general efficiency is going to be increased from this point. So with the M247 going up, the LVKV going up, no surprise to me there. The LVKV does have an issue though. It gets outranged quite aggressively by a lot of helicopters, and that in an up tier can suck. The other thing as well is, you know, certain lineups are pretty tough to create for Sweden around those BRs. So putting it at 10-0 doesn't really change anything, because you're going to run it with those lineups anyway. The STRF 9040B goes up in BR again. That thing started at like 8.3, I think it was. Whoever made that decision, why? Why did you decide that that thing was supposed to be like around 8.3, 8.7? Especially when you have a variant of it in the game, which is 10.0. Or similar to 10.0. It made absolutely no sense, and to see this thing continually rise in BR is no surprise to me at all. The AGS is also going from 9.3 to 9.7. This is probably down to its mobility and also its general survivability and just speed around the place. So because it's another vehicle like the Striker where you can go hold down with the turret, it's going to be super hard to kill a lot of the time, and also with the combination of scouting, meaning that you don't have to always take an aggressive role in an engagement, it's going to have a really nice time with this. The Beglet Panzer is also going up to 8.7 from 8.3. With the change to how the belts work on the Beglet Panzer, it's one of the better multi-role vehicles in the game right now. It can deal with any air incoming threat. It has thermals. It has the AP from the main gun. It's just a really nice vehicle to play. So with the changes they've made to it, no surprises going up in BR. The Type 87 RCV going up, once again, no surprise. The higher it goes, the less armor it's going to face at certain tiers, so it's going to have a really good time. Another vehicle that started life at 7.3, no idea why. The DF105 is going up. This thing is a monster right now. If you haven't played the DF105, highly recommend playing it. And the 7.3 lineup for Germany is also insanely good. R3T106 going up to 7.7, kind of surprised by that one. It's got speed, but I don't think its firepower is really good. But I'm guessing people are just getting into really aggressive spaces with it, and then kind of attacking from there. I can understand why it would go up in BR, but I don't think it should. I've never seen... It's hard to take over games with that ammo loadout, is basically the issue. The Oosh is going up in BR, and this thing, now... This is an interesting one, because I don't know whether it's bugged or not. I feel like they're making this change, and if it was bugged, then they would fix the bug before moving its BR. Because if you played against the Oosh recently, you may have realized that it doesn't make any sound when it fires, and when you get hit by the projectile, you can't see the projectile coming in, and then you just die, because you don't know where it's coming from, and you just die, because you can't see anything about it. So they removed like the tracer basically from the rocket, and also they removed the sound from it. And since the Oosh itself is a really quiet vehicle, it's like it's super stealthy and can just go around bopping people. It's something I found when using it when I was grinding out some Swedish stuff recently, and I'm like the band cannon, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think I would rather it have the noise, and also rather it have the visual cue that you're getting hammered by rockets. But if they're not going to put that in, then putting it up in BR I think makes sense. The Weezer 182 continues to go up in BR from 9.3 to 9.7, basically because it's tiny and it's really hard to see, and it means that you can hide it in certain areas of the map. The ATGM is also pretty useful, but it's basically just a really good scout. So the Weasels in general just going up in BR. The only one which I don't think has gone up that much is the Cannon one. But yeah, the 1A2 is just going to be more and more annoying to deal with as time goes on, because people are just going to not see it, and it's just going to kill people. The Bang Cannon 1C goes down in BR. Pretty much everything else has been going up, but the Bang Cannon goes down. And after completing it, so I played the Bang Cannon. It wasn't a bad vehicle. It was actually pretty fun. But at the same time, I understand why it's going down in BR. Survivability is pretty much 0. It's slow as all hell. It has limited ammo capacity, and also it has limited traverse. So it has a lot of problems with it. When it comes to its general usability. It's definitely a vehicle that's really good in very certain situations, like if people push a corner and you're just there banging them and you know where to overpressure them, it can be really fun, but it's just got too many limitations to it. The Ferdinand goes up in BR, 6.3 to 6.7, after the repair cost change. I've seen millions of the damn things. So yeah, that's going to go up in BR really, really quickly. The main thing that was keeping it at its BR was the fact that it had, a crazy high repair cost. Now they're going to try and balance it by its BR, and hopefully it does it justice. We'll have to see how it does. You can still run it with a really banger German lineup, so it's going to be a super fun vehicle to play. Already is, so I'm not worried about it. But a lot of BR increases here, not too many decreases when it comes to the first set. The PT7657 goes from 7.3 to 7.7. This thing's just going to continue to go up. It's an insanely good vehicle. The combination of the gun with the AP and the laser rangefinder means that just annihilating people from long distances can happen a lot. There's also just been a ton of introductions recently of way more lighter vehicles at these BRs, and this thing's just going to eat them alive. So when it comes to PT76, it's just going to keep getting better and better and better the more lighter vehicles that they add. These vehicles, like the PT76 or even the Beglet Panzer, are going to continue to dominate for a long time if the current ideas keep getting pushed, like the SPH is getting added to the game, and less armor, more mobility. These things are just going to dominate. So I don't think this is the last BR change for the PT7657. I think it's going to go up again. When I played it, it was disgraceful. It was just an insanely good vehicle, and it's just going to get better and better and better. The T44 also is going up in BR. This is kind of a surprise to me. I have never really favored the T44 because I think it gets outmuscled by a lot of the heavy tanks around its BR. So I find that really odd that it's going up in BR, especially since this is one of the first times in a long time the Soviets actually have a lineup at 6.3, and now it's getting annihilated again. So yeah, that sucks. It's as simple as that. So I would probably keep the T44 where it is. I don't think it deserves to go up because now it's just going to struggle way more against 7.3 vehicles and also way more against heavies. The Crusader AA Mark 1 is going down in BR to 3.3. It also moves from rank 3 to rank 2 before the Mark 2 version. And the reason for this is because it's worse than it. It has been 4 years since it has been in the game. So no idea why it's always been high BR, but it's nice to see the game finally reflect its issues. The IKV 103 goes from 5.0 to 4.7. It also goes from rank 4 to rank 3. The IK 103 came in, I think, 6.0 or 6.3 or something like that. I spaded it at that BR. It is a disgracefully bad machine. It is terrible. It's awful to play, and it doesn't have a redeeming factor. And if somebody brings up the fact that its penetration on its round is really good as a good factor, just give up. It's terrible. It does everything badly. And that's why it will continue to go down in BR. The R3T20, on the other hand, keeps going up in BR. And now it sits itself at 5.0 from 4.7. We'll have to see how this works. I think as it goes up in BR, it will be used way more as an AA, which obviously is good for it. But the AA portion of the R3 is incredibly positive. The Istavark with a very similar gun has also been added, and that's kind of shown how useful vehicles like that can be. The T-34-100 goes from 6.7 to 6.3. I was always surprised by this thing being a 6.7. The gun itself is too wobbly. The lack of gun depression, the reload on it has always made it not a very good vehicle, and always one which I've always said is not really worth picking up. But it's nice to see it finally go down in BR, so therefore it can be a little bit more useful for the people who bought it. The Panzerbefehlswagen 4J is going from 4.0 to 3.7, followed by the Panzer 4J, the Panzer 4H, and the J and the H are going down to rank 2 from rank 3, but the Panzerbefehlswagen 4J is staying at rank 3, mainly because it's a premium vehicle. And putting premium vehicles down in ranks is a terrible idea, because obviously people get annoyed because they bought it hoping that it would research certain vehicles, and now it doesn't anymore. Same reason why I think stuff like the Panzer 4G for Italy is the rank that it is, and many other ranks for certain vehicles don't really make a lot of sense, like the T55AM. So these going down, I don't think they need to go down. The major issues I've seen around these BRs are actually the Soviets. Everybody else seems to be quite balanced around this BR, but the Soviets are the real problems at 4.3. With the T-34 and the KV-1s, they just massacre everything. And you see this every time an event season comes around. Everybody uses that 4.3 lineup, everybody annihilates everything, and then people go in their KV-1Bs at 4.0 for Germany, people go in, their KV-1Es for the Soviets, and they just batter the living hell out of the medium tanks of each nations. And it seems like the Panzer IVs are the main punching bags that people see. So the Panzer 4J, obviously it's worse than the other Panzer IVs, so maybe it could go down. I don't think the H should go down though. I think the main issue with this BR, and it has been for the longest time, are the KV-1s, and they need to be dealt with. The SDKFC 2344 is also going up to 4.7 from 4.3. Not too much of a surprise. That vehicle, because of its high ceiling when it comes to what you'll be able to do with it, is always going to have varying BRs. And the fact that it's been going up recently is very good. It should have done a long time ago, and it's nice to see that it's doing it now. Then we have some surprising ones, in my opinion. So the first one's the AC1, so the Sentinel, which for Britain, obviously it's an Australian premium, but it's going from 2.7 to 3.0. This to me is a huge surprise when it comes to the vehicle itself. It's got really good armor on it, but it struggles in a lot of other areas. So, and once people learn where to pen it, then it shouldn't be too hard to deal with. I feel like what's happening to it is the same thing that happens to the AC4, where because people don't face them that often, they don't know where to shoot the thing. So it just ends up in a situation where people bounce a lot off of it until they learn the weak spots and annihilate it. So even though this thing's gone up in BR, I'd be kind of surprised if it stays there. I'm going to be honest with you. The 41M Turan 2 is also going from 2.0 to 2.3. Another surprise. I don't think it's a very strong vehicle. I feel like it's a vehicle that can be dealt with by the majority of stuff around the BR. Obviously, if it gets into a 1.0 match, then people are going to struggle against it, and maybe that's what's happening with the additional armor that it has. The T126 is going up from 2.7 to 3.0, but not the T50. Even though, at least in my opinion, they're very similar vehicles. And that does annihilate that lineup, which was very fun to play. So that saddens me. The T126 and T50 combo was an incredibly fun time to have. The LVT 440 goes up again in BR from 3.0 to 3.3, so that now has gone up a whole 1.0, I believe, overall. And it's just a really good vehicle. There's no other way of putting it. It has great multi-role capabilities, it works incredibly well, and there's no real issues with it at all. It's got good survivability because it's huge. I don't think, well, you could probably overpressure it, but it's hard to do. But it looks like it's still caning people even at 3.0. The AB43 going from 2.0 to 2.3. Surprising. I didn't ever see that thing as very powerful. Maybe they're trying to make it more of a scout than anything else. I can't remember if it's rank 2 or not, though. It might be rank 1, so I'm not sure that's applicable. But for me, I don't see a reason for this thing to go up. It doesn't really do anything fantastic. It does everything okay for the BR, and it gets mashed because of its armor. So not too much, not too interested in that one. But it looks like we're getting a bunch of decompression changes here, especially since 11.3 is something that will eventually happen to ground. So you've got the Chi-Hees, the Chi-Ha Kai. All of these things are going up in BR. So the Chinese Chi-Ha Kai, the Japanese one, the Chi-Hees, the premium one, they're all, the Chi-Hees are going from 2.3 to 2.7. The Chi-Ha Kais are going from 2.0 to 2.3. I've always thought the Chi-Ha Kais were very, very good vehicles. They worked incredibly well with the stabilizers and the gun. They really feel nice to play. The Chi-Hees feel okay. The general damage the gun does is a little bit less for the BR. And I suppose they're trying to get it away from the lower brackets. This is probably why they're doing it. But for me, I'll be kind of surprised with the Chi-Hees to see that they're doing really, really well in the game. The M16s are moving up, so the MGMC, the Japanese one and the American one, not a surprise here. They're very, very, very competent AAs. 450 cals are incredibly powerful. The B1 Terror is going from 2.3 to 2.7. Thank God. Should have happened years ago at this point. The B1 Terror has been a menace to low tier for a very long time. And I think nowadays I would rather the heavy tanks that cause issues at low tier put up in BR sufficiently where their armor doesn't matter, compared to the other way around, where they're able just to bully everything that is around them. The M1542 also goes up in BR. Disagree with this one. I don't think it's a very powerful vehicle. Doesn't feel nice to play. And I don't think it's on the same level as stuff like the Chi-Ha Kai or the B1 Ter. The STRV M41S2, same reason really. It does have nice scouting on it, which is good, and APDS. But until you get that APDS, it doesn't feel very nice. And the Kar-Chi is going up to 2.0. Why? Who's doing this? Hello? Who's there? Right, I need to chat with the person who thinks the Kar-Chi is worthy of going up in BR. We need to have a sit down, and you need to give me what you're having. The Kar-Chi is not a vehicle that should increase in BR. I understand that it's annoying to kill, but it is not a vehicle which should ever go up in BR because it has so many downsides to it. The CCKW 353 is going from 2 to 2.3. No real surprise there, since the M16s are also going up at the same time. The VEEK 40 increases in BR, which is not too much of a surprise, since they've changed its HEVT, and that was one of the major limiting factors for the vehicle when it came to what it would do when it came to the battlefield. It won't change the fact that you still run it in the same lineup, though, because Sweden had some really odd lineups around those BRs, because everything has vastly different BRs from themselves. So hopefully at some point, Sweden can kind of get what Japan got last year, which was some bolstering of the lineups. So these BR changes would actually make more of a difference. The Chinu 2 gets increased to 4.7. I mean, as I've said many times, with the Chinu 2 increasing in BR from 4.0 to 4.3, I run it at 4.7 anyway. I run it with the Cheeto and the Cheeto Late, and it does fantastic. It basically means that you have a really, really powerful lineup there, and it always has done well. I can understand people disagreeing with this change, though, because when you compare it to the Cheeto Late, there is significant difference between those vehicles. But as I said, for me personally, I run it there anyway, so I think it's worthy of the 4.7 area. The Ratel 20 goes from 7.0 to 6.7. It'll still be garbage. The 20mm is useless. It's only good for attacking helicopters, and that becomes less and less as it goes down in BR. The Milan is quite nice, I suppose, but you have to expose yourself to use it, which means you die when you use it. ATGMs are not as powerful as people think they are when it comes to vehicles. It's more about the platform that they're actually on. And then the speed of it is terrible as well. And then it just gets killed by a plane after 5 minutes. The Ratel 20 is terrible. And it's going to keep going down in BR, and it'll keep being terrible. Simple as that, really. Those are all the BR changes for ground. when it comes to it. And overall, not too many issues that I have here. I think it kind of shows the IPM1 change was a mistake, giving it the better round. I disagree with the Chihi's going up. I disagree with the M15 going up. I don't think that thing should go up. It's just not combat effective enough. I think they should drop the IKV 103 even more than that they're doing, and I would like to see some further clarification on the AB43 and what it's doing well, and also the differences between the T50 and the T126, making them different BRs. When it comes to Naval, we're going to have a look at Arcade, because that's the game mode that I play. We start off with the HMS Leopard. This is going from 3.7 to 4.0. Not too much of a surprise here, actually. The vehicle itself has really good firepower for those lower tier destroyers. And when you compare it to some of the other ones at 3.7, I think it outshines them. So going up in BR, it may be a little bit rough for it, because there are some monsters at 4.3, 4.7 that it will face more, but I think it makes sense. The VS8 is going from 3.0 to 2.7. No surprise here. I feel the VS8 has always been massively overvalued. I think a lot of the hydrofoils in general are pretty overvalued, because their general weaponry is not comparable to the BR that they're at. Like, when I compare the VS8 to any of the PT boats that are around, it really suffers from lack of armament. So, not a surprise to see it decrease at all when it comes to the vehicle itself. The HMS Hyder is going from 4.7 to 4.3, which is odd, I gotta say. Same with the Anton Schmidt, the Z22, that's going from 4.7 to 4.3, but we'll have to see how these new brackets affect them. I suppose it means that they can see more reserve tier destroyers, which may be a little bit nicer for them, and also means that they get removed from a decent amount of the cruiser gameplay, but they'll still face the vast majority of the same stuff. I think isn't the Hydra equivalent still at 4.7 though, which may be a bit of a problem, so we'll have to see the difference in how those play. The R41 is going from 1.3 to 1.0, so it's obviously not doing very well at low tier, and the biggest change and the best change for Naval, the M802 and its compatriots in the tech tree, the M17, are going up in BR. These things should have gone up in BR a long time ago. If you have been playing Naval for the last year, especially during events, you will know how criminal these machines are. They have overwhelming firepower, they can overpressure / hull break stuff which is smaller than them in the form of PT boats, they have ridiculous AA, they are always used and always brought out when events are around, because they're insanely powerful. And also, they for some reason get the small fleet or the coastal spawns, when they shouldn't get them at all. These things should get the destroyer spawns or close to those spawns. They are absolutely abhorrent to face if you are in anything lower than them, and to see them go up in BR is a great change, and I hope they continue to go up in BR so they actually face stuff which is more comparable to them. They are so annoying to fight, and it's been this way for about a year, so it's finally nice to see that this is being recognized. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Barine, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.